Welcome back to Believe in Jets, a New York Jets podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. My name is Rami Lavi. We have more news coming out about the Aaron Rodgers report, although the Jets haven't confirmed anything, and that was part of the report, was that they would come out and say that, hey, we're moving on, so that they can then agree to a trade, and then the trade will officially happen after June 1st, or however it works. There'll be a roster designation post June 1st, but he could already start working on a new team now. Whatever the stipulations might be, but they expected something to happen this week. We haven't had news about it yet, but Dianna Russini did report a new report, and again, it's Dianna Russini, another report in The Athletic about Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. Shocking, I know. There's another Dianna Russini report that essentially takes you inside the room, and this sounds like it came from the Jet side, maybe covering their ass a little bit, where it's like, hey, what happened in that room? Why are they moving on from Aaron Rodgers? And basically, Dianna said that Aaron was asked that, hey, we'd like to have you back, but here are the rules. If you come back, here are going to be the set of rules for you to return as the Jets starting quarterback. The rules would be as follows. No more Pat McAfee. You'd have to show up to all voluntary training camps, all OTAs. Aaron Rodgers would be one of 53. Something that I said was a positive thing. I agree. That's something that I said was a positive that he did have to adhere to. And if you don't do that, Aaron Rodgers, goodbye. So they basically gave him an ultimatum. Now, I don't think that when you are Aaron Rodgers, you have to give up Pat McAfee. I don't think that's included in the one of 53. I do understand that, yes, you should come to mandatory training camps. And if you don't, then you could get fined just like any other player. That's all well and good. I don't think telling him he can't go on Pat McAfee has anything to do with that. And here's the thing with this Dianna Russini report. With a lot of people who are very pro-Jets, and to all those people who are very pro-Jets, I already called them out on last episode, but to the people who are pro-Jets, first of all, if the Jets decide to stick with Aaron Rodgers, you'd be singing their praises too. So let's not get it twisted. You just suck off whatever the Jets do, and that's fine. That's your prerogative. You could do whatever you want. If you want to blindly root for the Jets and say whatever they do is perfect, they've proven otherwise for 30 years now, but sure. If you want to blindly follow the Jets and say, oh, everything they do is amazing, here's why this is amazing, and then come up with reasons why it's amazing after the fact, that's fine. Keep doing that. Let's see who wins in the end. Let's see who's right in the end. I hope I'm wrong and you're right. I hope the Jets finally do get it right. But what they're coming out and saying is, this is Aaron Glenn, the Aaron Glenn era. He's putting his foot down. He's changing the culture. He's setting the tone. It's about discipline. He's not letting Aaron Rodgers run the organization anymore. Oh, finally, we have a man in here. Great. Aaron Glenn is the man. He's proving it by telling Aaron Rodgers, you can't go on McAfee. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to be here. Goodbye. All the pro-Jets propaganda that we're hearing, all this Aaron Glenn is the man, Aaron Glenn is finally setting the tone propaganda that we're hearing. Guess what? You're wrong. Because if Aaron Glenn was this great coach, if Aaron Glenn was this great disciplinarian, if Aaron Glenn actually had control of the room and actually did control what was going on, then Aaron Rodgers can do McAfee and it won't affect the team on the field. Aaron Rodgers can go do his ayahuasca trips and it won't affect the team on the field. Aaron Rodgers can go do his Netflix show and whatever the hell else he wants to do, and it shouldn't affect the team on the field. Oh, like Mike LaFleur, who dealt with all that every single year. There was a problem with Aaron Rodgers in the offseason. Every single year, there was news and rumors swirling around, and he would go on McAfee and say stupid things. And guess what? They won 12 games every year. He won 2 MVPs. They went to the NFC Championship games. So is the problem Aaron Rodgers, or is the problem the people having to control Aaron Rodgers not being good enough and not being capable enough that they can't keep him in check while he still does his Aaron Rodgers things? And these same people are the people who hate Aaron Rodgers. And that's all they do. They hate Aaron Rodgers. They don't like him personally. They don't like his politics. They don't like all the different things that he says in the media, how he likes to irk people. I don't love some of it either. But guess what? That doesn't change who he is on the football field. And with zero coaching, with a terrible, just awful situation that the Jets had last year, just lack of discipline and all the terrible things, he still, over the second half of the season, was great. Better than any other quarterback available for the Jets today. And you're willing to give up on that because you have so little faith in your ability as a head coach, Aaron Glenn, to control the room and to keep everyone in check. That's what it tells me. Not that you're this big, strong man, that you set the tone, and if he doesn't get in line, then guess what? We can't have him here. It's that you are afraid that if he steps out of line a little bit, you won't be able to control the rest of the room. So don't tell me this is Aaron Glenn being so strong and mighty. This is the opposite. This is a weakness of Aaron Glenn. And you know what? I don't think it's either one of those. I don't think it's a weakness of Aaron Glenn. I don't think it's a strength of Aaron Glenn, because none of this is about Aaron Glenn. This was a Woody Johnson decision, like I keep saying. And this is why all the people who are so pro Aaron Glenn and all the people who love Aaron Glenn, I'm telling you, it has nothing to do with Aaron Glenn. And the biggest problem for me with this Aaron Rodgers decision, the biggest issue with the Aaron Rodgers decision, do I think they're winning a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers? No. Do I think they'll be better with him than without him? Yes. Again, I think it's marginal. You could bring me the salary cap implications and all these different things that point to maybe they should move on from Aaron Rodgers. I'm willing to understand that. But don't tell me that this decision is the right decision because it proves it's different because it's Aaron Glenn. If anything, it's the opposite. This decision proves that it's more of the same, and that's my biggest issue with moving on from Aaron Rodgers. It proves that Woody Johnson is still the one calling the shots. So Aaron Glenn may very well have a great career, but he's not even going to get a chance here because this owner won't get out of the way and won't let him do his job. He won't give him the chance. Again, you build a winning culture by winning football games. And guess what? Aaron Rodgers gives you the best chance to win football games. Aaron Glenn knows it. He's not dumb. Aaron Glenn probably would, if you asked him in an honest moment, you gave him a lie detector, truth serum, and you said, Aaron Glenn, tell me what you think. I'm a strong enough leader that I can control the other 52 guys, even with Rodgers doing McAfee and all that stuff. He gives us the best chance to win. That's why I want him. But no, it was never his decision. It was the same person making the decision who let his son run the team and shut down trades because of Madden ratings. All those things that we heard about for all the years that Dianna Russini reported, it's all the same. It's the same thing over and over again. It's all the same person making these decisions. It's Woody Johnson and Woody Johnson alone. And that's the biggest issue with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets moving on from Aaron Rodgers. The biggest issue with the Jets moving on from Aaron Rodgers is it proves that the same person who's run this franchise into the ground over and over and over again is still doing it and still making the decisions. He's still in charge. So I'm sick and tired of hearing all the contrarians. And by the way, that's the person who no one's willing to criticize. That's the person who all these people in the media, whether it's the credentialed people that are scared they're going to lose their credential, whether it's the non-credentialed people who are scared they're going to fall out of favor somehow with the organization, and then they won't get their voices heard on their little social media clips that the organization puts out. Those people are afraid of Woody Johnson, so they're not willing to call him out. That's the truth. Deal with it. Because as long as Woody Johnson owns this franchise, they will never change. The only way they can change, and this is why I talked about when they hired Rick Spielman, finally he's hiring Rick Spielman and he's getting out of the way. I was wrong. He hired Rick Spielman and now he's telling Rick Spielman what to do. It's the same thing over and over again. We saw it with Woody Johnson, in New York with the Knicks and the Rangers with James Dolan. And guess what? Finally, he handed it over to basketball people, to hockey people, and said, you guys go to work and make your decisions. Leon Rose is the savior of the city because of it. Well, Woody Johnson's not willing to do that yet. And until he is, or he sells the team, nothing's going to change. What's interesting to me is I'm curious to see, because Dianna Russini attached herself to the Jets organization and all of a sudden started doing all these Jets reports only once Aaron Rodgers showed up, because she hates Aaron Rodgers. She's notoriously anti-Aaron Rodgers. So she likes to clown Aaron Rodgers. She likes to talk negatively about Aaron Rodgers. So what'd she do? When Aaron Rodgers showed up, she started harassing the Jets and writing all these stories about the Jets because she hates Aaron Rodgers. Now I'm curious to see when he leaves and he goes to another team, when he's in Pittsburgh, when he's in Vegas, when he's in San Francisco, is Dianna Russini going to keep reporting about the Jets? Hell no. She's like a lead reporter for The Athletic. She's not a Jets reporter. She's going to go report stories. She's going to go tell crazy stories about Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. She's going to go tell stories about Aaron Rodgers in Vegas. She's going to go tell stories about Aaron Rodgers in San Francisco. I cannot wait to watch Dianna Russini harass all those fan bases and leave us the fuck alone. And by the way, I like Dianna. I met her at WFN one day in the summer. I talked about this. She came on. She was very nice. It was actually funny to watch her. She was so cool that, like, she had to get some work done. She's like, do you guys mind if I just sit at one of these cubicles and do my work? So she's just sitting in the FAN newsroom doing her work. It was great. She's cool. She's awesome. And she was really nice to meet. But She has an axe to grind with Aaron Rodgers, clearly, which is fine. Some people don't like him. I get it. He rubs a lot of people the wrong way. She's one of them. So I'm not saying any of her reporting is false. I'm just saying she wouldn't be showing this much interest if it wasn't Aaron Rodgers. So now she could go to whatever hell else team he goes to and harass those fans and harass that fan base. And I cannot wait. The interesting part is Zach Rosenblatt. And I got into a little back and forth with Zach Rosenblatt on Twitter. I'm sure he's a good reporter. He does great work. And I meant to ask a couple of reporters about this because I feel like there's a chance he might have separated himself from the group over this last year and a half when Rodgers was here. And obviously Dianna was writing all these stories because he's just hitched his wagon to Dianna and has collaborated on every story that she's written. So now what? Does he just walk back into the Jets facility like, hey guys, I'm back. No, mommy's not around anymore. I guess I'll just go back to writing regular old boring stories about, the offensive play caller this week. Like, how does he go from being the sub author on every single one of these stories, the sub reporter on every one of these stories with Dianna, to now just back to like a regular, like, I'm really curious. It's a great career decision for him to hitch his wagon to Dianna Russini. She's a superstar in the industry. All these Aaron Rodgers stories were hard hitting, like eviscerating Aaron Rodgers. All these crazy stories that they had out there over and over again. He was collaborating on them. He got his name out there. So great for Zach Rosenblatt. Good career move. But now she's done with the toy. She's going to put the Jets down. She doesn't care about the Jets. You thought Dianna Russini ever cared about the Jets? You're crazy. She cares about Aaron Rodgers. So she's going to go follow him wherever he goes and all of a sudden collaborating with that athletic reporter. The Vegas athletic reporter is reporting alongside Dianna Russini that blah, 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 blah. That's what's going to happen. And Zach's going to be sitting there twiddling his thumbs, writing dumbass stories that he always wrote, like that everyone writes about the Jets. He'll have the same stories as Rich Cimini and Connor Hughes and all those guys. Why would he have any different stories? That's my opinion. Does he still get a boost because his career already now got a boost and now he's up there, so his stories will be more read, or will he just fall to the wayside and just become one of these guys? I'm curious. And that's not to say that he didn't do good work over the last couple of years. He does. He's done great work before Dianna Russini showed up at The Athletic. He does good work. There's a reason why she hitched his wagon to him, obviously. She could just report on all these things alone. But it is an interesting career choice for him. I'm curious to see where his career goes from here. Anyway, I don't know how many people care about that stuff. It's like inside media career stuff, but I'm interested. I said this last summer, and I'll say it again, or last winter, last offseason. I do think Aaron Rodgers is going to end up in Vegas, though. I said it last offseason because it just seemed like that's where they're going to trade him. Devontae Adams was there, obviously, and it felt like he was never going to play for the Jets again, the way he was talking about the Jets in the media last year. I think it makes more sense now. Teams need to see him healthy the way they saw him for the last 8 weeks of the season. I think he could go to Vegas. Pete Carroll's there, veteran head coach, win now. Obviously, Chip Kelly's there, veteran offensive play caller, win now. And plus, they could run the older school Aaron Rodgers type offense with Chip Kelly there. He could be the stabilizer for that organization, right? Tom Brady owns the team. He knows what it's like to bring in a veteran quarterback and then win. He's done it in Tampa. I do think wherever Rodgers goes is going to be successful. It'll be funny if Vegas gets Devontae Adams again. They re-sign him. And now it's like, okay, Rodgers is here. Let's re-sign you. Now, another option would be, and Devontae Adams has talked about this, he would sign with San Francisco. And so that's interesting. Maybe Aaron Rodgers is going to San Francisco. And what I saw is that they would trade. They're trying to trade Deebo Samuel. Maybe they trade Brock Purdy for Myles Garrett and then sign Aaron Rodgers. Now, I've talked about if the Jets traded Brock Purdy, traded Aaron Rodgers for Brock Purdy, that would be incredible for the Jets. But I don't see why San Francisco would do that. Once they know that they're cutting him, why would they just trade away Brock Purdy for Aaron Rodgers? I could see a scenario where they trade Brock Purdy to the Jets for Aaron Rodgers, or they trade Brock Purdy to Cleveland for Myles Garrett. That makes more sense. They trade Brock Purdy to Cleveland for Myles Garrett. Cleveland decides to build their franchise around Brock Purdy. And then the San Francisco 49ers have Myles Garrett. They bring in Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. That could be a very interesting situation for the San Francisco 49ers. I do think he should go to the NFC because he'd immediately be the best quarterback in the NFC. And all the bump and I hate this. It's so lame. It's so just the people who say these things, like, you don't do you listen to yourself? You sound like, pardon my take, when they're making fun of the talking heads. Like, you sound like the typical sports talk that people get made fun of for saying these takes. Like, these takes are so outlandish. The ones we're hearing after the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback. He's the best quarterback in the NFC. The day after the Super Bowl, we have to hear that. Patrick Mahomes' legacy is terrible. We can't talk about it again. Like, these like big scathing takes that we have today. It's so dumb. Jalen Hurts is what he is. Patrick Mahomes is still the best in the league and probably has a good chance at still catching Tom Brady as the GOAT. What's to say he won't win another 3 Super Bowls in a row a different time in his career? It's possible. Like, but the immediate, like, all of a sudden we have these crazy takes the day after the Super Bowl is just nuts. So I still think Jalen Hurts is a solid quarterback, but I don't think he's better than Aaron Rodgers. Really, I don't. Not today. Matthew Stafford is the best quarterback in the NFC, in my opinion. He might get traded too. And another thing that I just despise is the double standard when it comes to Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, they're talking about him going to the Giants, and I hear people, including the morning show and WFAN, and Greg Giannotti, who I like, who I think is usually like right on with these things, but he's been very anti Aaron Rodgers staying with the Jets. They need to move on. They need to start over. That's fine. But he's also said about Matthew Stafford, oh, it's a great move for the Giants to bring him in here. He's a stabilizer. You have this franchise. They could win a bunch of games. Not saying they're winning a Super Bowl, but you'll win a bunch of games. And all of a sudden you start to move the franchise in the right direction. At least you make the playoffs a couple of times. And then you bring in a young quarterback to learn underneath him. Isn't that what Aaron Rodgers would be for the Jets? Only the Jets have a better roster that's capable of winning now, where the Giants roster isn't capable of winning around a Matthew Stafford. I don't understand the double standard on these two things. Why? Just because Aaron Rodgers says some crazy shit in the media? Guess what? Kelly Stafford says crazy shit too. She's just as hard to deal with as Aaron Rodgers is. Only you can't corral her because she can do whatever the fuck she wants. She can go off the rails whenever she wants. You know why? Because she's not the guy who is playing for you. She's his wife. So to me, this whole double standard of, oh, Aaron Rodgers, well, we can't corral him. We can't deal with him. So all these things that come along, the baggage, quote unquote, that comes along with Aaron Rodgers, we can't deal with that. He can't be the guy to stabilize the Jets franchise and have them make the playoffs, win a couple of games, and then lead them into the future with a young quarterback. Oh, by the way, with a roster that's ready and capable of winning. But Matthew Stafford, he's going to be the guy who comes in and stabilizes the Giants organization with their roster of shit and crap that's not ready to win at all. And that's going to get them, he'll win a couple of playoff games, and then you'll bring in a young quarterback behind him. That's crazy. It's a double standard and it drives me nuts. The quarterback the Jets are probably going to get, and I saw Rich Cimini reporting this, which is insane to me also. Kirk Cousins. Why? Because he's a good choir boy. Oh, so you're saying we should move on from an older quarterback coming off of an Achilles injury because, what's really the ceiling with him? But instead, we'll get another older quarterback coming off of an Achilles injury, only who's not as good. Like, what? It is insane to me what the Jets organization is doing. And, again, for people who can't comprehend it, this is the right move. They have to move on, draft a young quarterback, have a bridge quarterback, because they're going to get the right quarterback in the draft. And it's not just going to be Christian Hackenberg and Bryce Petty and Geno Smith and Mark Sanchez and everyone and Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold over and over and over and over and over freaking again. It's just mind-numbing that people will just eat it up. Just keep drinking the Kool-Aid for this organization. It's so frustrating. Can you tell I'm frustrated? I don't know if you can tell. I need to breathe. I'm too worked up. I got too worked up right away. All right. I have more stuff to talk about the Super Bowl and other things, but I'm going to take a quick break, do an ad read, and come right back and tell you all about couple other things from the Super Bowl and some other basketball, baseball points. I do want to do a couple of other football points. We'll get to them later in the week. So we'll have a third episode this week. Why not? We're going to be bored. We got all off season. We'll see what happens. All right, quick break. Right back after this. Okay, coming back. The Super Bowl is over. Gambling is not. I lost all my bets on the Super Bowl. Almost all my bets. Just everything had to do with the Chiefs and the Chiefs money line. I was right. I did say I did have an alternate bet that I put like a hedge, which was Philly minus 4.5. And I hit that bet obviously by a mile, was never close. My friend, I feel so terrible for him because he had a parlay that was plus 1750. 1751 to be exact, a crazy parlay, and he should have hit it. It was the Eagles to have a defensive touchdown, the Eagles money line, and Patrick Mahomes under 252 passing yards, 252.5. He had all of it until Patrick Mahomes throws that 50-yard touchdown in the end to get him to 257 passing yards. I felt terrible for Zoo. Big Zoo, my guy. I love you, and I feel awful for you. But if you're betting in 2025, BetOnline is the world's most trusted platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selection of odds, on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL and UFC. BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source from every three-pointer to hat trick. BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. Don't forget, baseball is back soon. We're seeing guys throwing in their shorts. Awesome. Who doesn't love some content of guys walking into facilities and then throwing baseballs in shorts? It is the best content of the year. By the way, when it's football, guys just like tossing a football around and going up against the tackle dummies in shorts, that I love. But baseball, the season's long enough. I don't need it. So I'm seeing a lot of people talking about this. Patrick Mahomes, this is a big hit to his, this is a huge hit to his legacy because in the two Super Bowls he lost, he got crushed. And the Super Bowls he won, they were close, but the Super Bowls he lost, he got crushed. And a lot of people, it's so funny when I hear this. It's like Tom Brady, even in the Super Bowls he lost, he had a chance to win them. They were a one-score game and he had the ball last with a chance to win them. Well, guess what? If Patrick Mahomes had the ball last in every game he's ever been in, when he gets the ball last with a chance to win, he wins them. He wins those games. So if Patrick Mahomes was in those situations to beat those teams, to beat the Giants, to beat the Philadelphia Eagles, to beat the Giants again, those losses that Brady had, Mahomes might have won those because he got the ball last with the chance to go win them. So somehow this is a negative that in order to beat Patrick Mahomes, you have to absolutely destroy him. And look, Patrick Mahomes, this is the worst game I've ever seen him play in his career. It was terrible. He was awful in that game. This is worse than the Super Bowl a couple of years ago in Tampa and everything that was going on surrounding that game. This is awful. But all the signs is a huge hit to his legacy. And I do find a lot of people who are big Brady legacy guys are also big LeBron legacy guys. You know, it's the newer school as opposed to it's that era of sports fan. You don't love Michael Jordan. You don't love, Joe Montana or whoever the other great quarterbacks would be. You get the point. And so the same people who say this is a major hit on Patrick Mahomes' legacy that he got blown out in these games are the same people that will prop up LeBron James. Well, he was in the finals every year, but they don't talk about him getting blown out against San Antonio or the Warriors or any of these other teams when he was in Cleveland getting blown out in the finals then. Nobody talks about those. And by the way, basketball is a more individualized sport where you can control the game. If you're this great player, go out and beat these teams. And I know the KD Warriors, tough team to beat. I get it. But the year before, his last year in Miami, he still had a pretty good team against that San Antonio team that he beat with the Ray Allen shot the year before. And he got blown out. What was it, a 5-game series? But we don't talk about that, huh? I'm all about the double standards today. I like everything to be straight and clear down the line. Authenticity, baby. We need consistency around here. By the way, the more I watched it, speaking of the NBA and LeBron, the more I think that this was all just a marketing scheme by the NBA. Like every player gets a Luka t-shirt, or every fan showing up at the game gets a Luka t-shirt. LeBron's warming up in the Luka t-shirt. They're bringing out superstars. Dirk Nowitzki is there to watch Luka. Puka Nacua is there to watch Luka, and that was the most. If you haven't seen this, I posted this on Twitter. I reposted it on TikTok also. This is the most wholesome content. Puka Nacua going to meet LeBron and acting like a child around him and acting like a fan, acting like a little kid, how I would how I would act if I went to meet LeBron. It's like, we're going to meet LeBron, we're going to meet Luka. Like, you're a superstar athlete, dude. Like, LeBron was just as excited to watch him and meet him. And it's just so cool to see, like, when these athletes that we look up to are acting like children or whatever. It is wholesome content to watch, to see that they still feel the same way. I do love seeing that. So that was super cool. But my point is that this whole Luka thing is starting to feel like, yeah, he plays against, it's on national TV, on ESPN. You got freaking all these promos going on there. They played against the Jazz. Kobe's last game was against the Jazz. The new face of the organization, his first game is at home against the Jazz. Like, it's just feeling like maybe some of the conspiracy theorists are right. I don't know. Anyway, that was my other NBA thing. The last thing is I did mention baseball and pitchers and catchers, and I have a couple other things. We'll save it for next episode. Like I said, there's more to talk about next episode. We'll talk about some of the NFL stories. We'll talk about my glasses. If you like my new glasses, I have a whole story about that. So we'll get into that. The Yankees, though, showed up to spring training. And I've been harassing people on social media because every Yankee account, whether it's the Yes Network, whether it's Talking Baseball and Talking Yanks, whether it's the official Yankee account, whether it's Brian Hoke and some of the these guys who I love, even Aaron Boone, when he sent out his tweet, headed down to Tampa, best time of the year. I just reply in every single tweet, whether it's an Instagram post, I reply in the comments, whether it's a TikTok post, I reply in the comments. If it's on YouTube, I reply in the comments, if it's Twitter, I reply, I tweet back. When are you guys getting a third baseman? Who's the third baseman? Aaron Boone, are you playing third base? I have been just absolutely harassing anyone even remotely associated with the Yankees. I've been harassing them about the fact that they don't have a third baseman because guess what? You can't go into a season with championship expectations, which the Yankees have this year, and not have a third baseman. Oh, but they're going to run through the American League. Still, why do we always have to be one piece short? Why can't we ever go into a season saying, no, we actually have every position filled with quality players who are capable of playing those positions? And you want to tell me, oh, they're going to trade for Nolan? Okay, fine. Nolan Arenado was over the hill too. I do think this Yankee season is going to be more disappointing. I would project they win between 87 and 91 games as it stands. I don't know what the over under is in Vegas. I should look it up. Let's go to Bet Online. Yankees win total over under. Let's see what we have here. This is great podcasting, great radio, best regular season record. Yankees. Let's find the Yankees win season total over under. It's 93.5. I would hammer the under 93.5. As bad as the American League is, by the way, it's one better than the Mets. The Mets are 92.5. How do you like that? You guys have Juan Soto. We have a better win-loss over under. 93.5. Crush the under. The Yankees are not winning close to 94 games. Come on. At best, they're winning 92. Like, you are not going to have to sweat that too much. Bet that bet. The Yankees team, they're not that good. And an easy fix. Anthony DeComo comes out today and he says, well, the Mets aren't re-signing Jose Iglesias. They're moving on. They want to get some younger versatility guys in here who could get opportunities to play. So the Mets just told you they're not re-signing Jose Iglesias. Pure vibes guy, awesome guy for the locker room, changes everything. And he could be your starting third baseman. Why have the Yankees not even reached out? The Yankees should be signing Jose Iglesias today. There hasn't been rumors. They haven't reached out to him. Nothing. He should be the Yankees starting third baseman going into the season. Is he as good of a third baseman as Alex Bregman or anyone else that I would have liked him to get? No, but I don't need a superstar at every position. He's great for vibes. We know he's going to play the field well, and he's going to give you some contact. Maybe he'll give you a little bit of something here and there. If you told him that he's combining with LeMahieu, who's going to be your utility guy to play first, second, and third, plus you have Oswaldo Cabrera who could play a bunch of the positions. Iglesias can back up at shortstop when they need him there also. All of a sudden, now I'm buying in a little bit. That makes sense a little bit. But to just go into the season with LeMahieu and Cabrera where you know half the season LeMahieu is going to be hurt and half the season Cabrera is going to be hitting 089? Like, why? Why do we do this year after year? Why can't you just get a real third baseman? It drives me insane. And you have the guy who I think would be perfect for the position right out there. Can you imagine? Like Jazz Chisholm and Jose Iglesias, the different vibes you'd be getting from this team. It would be awesome. And it makes no sense to me. But that's all. That's all I wanted to talk about. Again, I have a lot more to talk about. I want to talk about the Eli Manning Hall of Fame stuff, and maybe it'll be a week old by the time I talk about it on Friday, but I'm going to talk about it. I want to talk about the Josh Allen MVP stuff, that as well, and then my glasses story. So a whole lot coming up later this week. Until then, like, subscribe, share the podcast. I appreciate everyone for listening. See ya.